Hey, hi everyone. How you all doing? Welcome to Microsoft Reactor and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the audience who all are joining us globally. I am Partharu, event planner at Microsoft Reactor, and I welcome you once again for our show BI Guruji. So, I'd like to welcome our Guruji, Gaurav Agarwal. Hey Gaurav, how are you?
Hey, Parth, I'm doing good. Hello, everyone.
So, Guruji, what do we have today?
Well, I have something very interesting planned for today, and this is in continuation with our last discussion on the Power BI art of possibility. So we're going to have an interesting topic coming up, which is Power BI working with Power BI desktop using the SQL Server as a relational database as a source.
Okay, sounds good. So before we start, we'll go through our code of conduct. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together. So please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in a way you all engage. Yes, the chat is open throughout and we do encourage you all to participate. So please drop all your questions in the chat. Now, over to Gaurav, all yours, sir, to begin the session.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Parth. All right. So let me quickly share my screen first. Okay. So, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, or good morning from wherever you have joined, and welcome to the Power BI series. I think this is a session two in the continuation what we have done it in somewhere in November. So today we're going to talk on how we're going to use or get started with Power BI desktop. And in order to do that, we're going to use SQL Server as an one of the data source, right? So before we begin, I would request everyone, to just be relaxed and go and grab coffee, tea, or whatever is your favorite drink, and we're going to enjoy this 1 hour of session. Meanwhile, we'll also monitoring the Q&A in case of anything. We'll try to answer them, right? So here is a little bit about me, and if you don't know me, so I just want to just give you a brief introduction about me. So I'm basically a senior program manager working with Microsoft. I'm basically part of the Power BI cat team, which is typically a part of the Power BI and Synapse product group and engineering. With more than 16 years of experience, all into data and analytics and AI, I have been worked with different domains like FMCG, insurance, telecom, and oil and gas industries, and have been delivering the session both with Microsoft partners and customers, both in India and overseas, right? So, as I told you, this session is more, kind of a session where we're going to little bit learn how we actually going to start with Power BI and how we're going to actually use the Power BI desktop as an interface, right? In case if you have missed the recording, right? For the last session, you can grab it from the YouTube channel with an hashtag BI Guruji, right? And this session is also recorded, so you can consume this recording anytime whenever you want. Okay. Okay, so let's get started with how we actually take BI today, right? So if you see typically the first wave, right, which is nothing but your technical BI, right? So initially it was the myth that the business intelligence is only meant for the IT or the end or the IT or the end users, right? Then we come up with a second wave where we say, okay, no, I mean, it is not only meant for the IT or the end user. We also have a self-service BI capability, which is nothing but typically meant for the analyst or to the end user, right? And at last, right, there extend the end or the third wave, which is the end user, which is typically nothing but for everyone, right? So what we are saying, uh, Power BI or a BI is does not limited only to specific set of user. It is extended to everyone, right? Irrespective of what background you are in, or what type of role you are working on, right? Because everybody need the data, and data has a tendency that it can speak and can give you some result, provided you are able to do a proper analytics on top of that particular data, right? So I mean, typical example, if I can talk about, like in day to day life, you use Excel, right? So in fact, even for a shopping list, right? So what do, you typically go and write the shopping list, what you're going to buy, right? How much quantity are you going to buy, and sometimes you even write what you are, from where you're going to buy, right? And then you typically go and book the expenses, how much you have expense, right? Or how much you have spend on buying those things, right? So it's nothing but it's just a data, right? But however, let's say you want to analyze this whole scenario, right, where you want to see what you have purchased, from where you have purchased, and how much you are spending, right, on a specific category, right? For example, you might be spending a lot, going or watching movies, right? Or you might be spending a lot eating outside, or somebody has an interest of reading books, so you might be spending a lot on reading books. But again, there is another altogether a different angle of seeing this particular data, and for doing that you might require some specific tools in order to perform these types of analysis, right? So now turning business data into insight is always challenging, right? Now, which what are your common challenges which you can see it, is that first of all you must have an end-to-end view of your data, right? Now because if I talk about the latest trend, because data is spread everywhere, right? Irrespective of it is sitting into your own in-house systems, or data coming from online sources, or data coming from the live feed, or the data which is getting generated from devices or the sensors, right? So you have to combine all this data to have a single end-to-end view, right? um, you will be having multiple data sources, right? So it is not where you will always have a data sitting in a SQL server, right? Or or to an Oracle system, right? And the last point is you also have to have a right data for the right user at the right time, right? Because obviously if I don't have the right data at the right time, I won't be able to make the business decision out of it. So I have to have the data which has to combine from all these multiple sources, and has to have a capability where I should be able to create an insight of that particular data at the right time, right? So that I should be able to make a proper business decision, in order to to gain the in order to gain the maximum insight of out of that particular data. Okay. Now coming to the as an Power BI product portfolio, right? So so when I say a product portfolio, what exactly this product is consist of, right? What are the things which this product as a product which it involves, right? Now if you see the first and foremost thing, right, which is nothing but is your Power BI desktop tool, correct? um, Now this will be our main topic for today. I mean, we're going to go a little bit more and understand what is this desktop tool is all about. However, as a product, what are other or other component which are included as somebody has to go and start using Power BI in their organization? The another one is a Power BI service, which is nothing but a cloud based business analytics solution. So that means once you actually go and create your reports, you need an environment where you're going to actually do a collaboration between your teams, right? You're going to share your reports. You might be creating different analytics dashboards, right? And you want to share those reports to end users, right? So that is where you will be actually going with the Power BI service for share and collaboration. Now, at the same time, an enterprise which is a very large scale enterprise and looking for a large scale kind of a deployment, right? Now, for them, we are also have something which is known as Power BI Premium, right? So now this is where we give you a dedicated capacity where you can have the maximum performance out of these reports or these data models which you go and create and deploy it into the Power BI as capacity. So that is another, another product family, or you can say is a part of our Power BI as a product portfolio. The another flavor what we have is Power BI report server. So now this is especially for the customers, right, who are looking to use Power BI as a solution, but they don't want to go and immediately move their data on the cloud. They want to use and keep their data in house or the on premises as a server, right? So for that, what they can do, they can go and use Power BI report server, which is nothing but, you can say, a version of Power BI which can be installed in your local infrastructure, and then you can use the reporting capability out there. The last one, and the not the least, but I would say it is also one of the powerful SKU, is typically from the app dev environment or from the app dev category, is Power BI embedded. Now this comes typically for the scenario where an ISV customer, right, who actually has his own product and they want to go and embed the Power BI report into his own app, right? And he don't want to use a proprietary or a Power BI as a service as an URL. However, they has his own .NET app where they want to go and embed these reports. So that is where we have the Power BI embedded as one of the SKU which you can go and can procure and can start embedding your reports. Okay, so now these all topics are itself having, lot of depth and all, which may we be going to talk once we go much more into the upcoming sessions. However, it is good to know, I mean, it will be very useful for everyone whoever really want to learn Power BI to have a at least an understanding what are the product portfolio of Power BI looks like. Okay, now moving further, as an overview, I mean, so this is typically, what exactly you do and how it actually works. So basically you will be using a desktop tool, right, which is typically used to prepare or explore your data, and you will be connecting to wide variety of different data sources, right, using a desktop tool. So once you go and create and connect to these data sources, you actually go and build a model using the Power BI desktop. Now building a model is again is depending on the complexity in your data, right? How complex is your data, from where your data is coming, what type of storage mode you're going to use in your data, and then you basically build a data model. And once you actually build your data model, you go and deploy it onto the Power BI service. Right now, the service is nothing but actually your capacity where you actually go and deploy these reports. Now all these reports will have visualizations, you will have your live dashboards and all those things, and then these reports will have your sharing and collaboration capabilities, which can be consumed either to from your laptop, or it can be consumed from your tablets, which is nothing but maybe, and if you are an Android user or a iPhone user, you can go and access those reports even from your mobile devices, because we do have the Power BI which is available for both for the Android as well as for the iOS devices. Okay, now let me take you how what is this desktop, right? And what is actually use case of having a desktop tool, right? Now, first of all, we need to see understand this is a free downloadable, right? So we are not charging anything. You not be charged, or Microsoft will not going to charge you anything once you go and download this desktop tool. It can be installed in your local Windows 10 machine, or Windows or it could be a Windows Server machine, with respect of 32-bit or a 64-bit machine. So you go and anybody can go and download this as a free software, right? So no charges for that. Download it, install it, and start using it. Now, um, this is typically a combination of Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. I mean, that is why. When the initial days when Power BI started, right, it was all through Excel, and everything was with the name of Power, right, where Power BI, Power Pivot, and all those things, right, and Power Maps, those things. Now we have come up with a single software which is known as the desktop. Now everything is being combined inside a desktop tool, and now you get a dedicated UI, which is very very simple UI. It's, I mean, if you are very good in designing some good presentations, right, or real, you are really good in selecting or doing a proper, color combinations and all those things, I mean, you will really enjoy creating those reports with this, with the help of this particular tool, right? So the main thing which you do it is, typically you go and connect to the data sources using the desktop, you combine those data sources and create a data model, and then you start visualizing your data, which is nothing but you actually start creating your reports, right? And the thing is, this tool is evolving, and every month Microsoft pushes an update for this particular tool. So which means you are always up to date with the latest or the greatest features which are keep coming for this particular tool. Okay. So that is one thing to know. Now another, in terms of the workflow, I mean, I will go back to the actual desktop and can show you, but just to understand, how the actual workflow will look like. So first is, what you will do, you will start preparing your data. Now when we say prepare, because to create a report, right, or to create any visuals, you first need a data, right? And it is also important that whoever is authoring a report must have some fair understanding of the data, as well as what is the problem he's trying to solve from that particular data, right? So you go and prepare that data. So basically you bring that data from data sources, and then you explore that data, which is nothing but, you will see how the data is being having a relationship between different attributes, what are your KPIs which you are looking, what are the measures which you're going to do, how you're going to present that particular data, whether you are presenting it in a right way, or is there any a better way of presenting that particular data, because there could be a multiple ways how you actually go and create a visualization, right, or how you're going to present your data to the executive or to the end user. So, and how you actually go and combine these different visual to form a report which will actually do a meaningful give you a meaningful insight, right, or it actually do a storytelling for you, right? um, so you prepare, you explore, you create report, and then you share and collaborate. So share and collaborate is basically, I'm not going to share a desktop file to, when I have to actually share a report to someone, I mean, because it's basically a UI. So nobody would like a UI as a file to be shared as an share as a collaboration feature, right? So that is where you actually go and publish these reports into a Power BI service, which is nothing but your cloud based service, right? So you create your reports. Once the report is created, you are satisfied with that, you go and publish those reports. Okay. Now let's understand connection to the data. So for doing this, what I'll do, I'll switch some gears and I'll take you to actual, Power BI desktop to show you how you actually go and connect to your data. So let me bring the Power BI desktop for you. Okay. Okay. So all right. So if you can see, this is basically the desktop utility or a desktop tool which I have installed. Um, so let me also show you how you actually go and get this, right? So once you go on this particular place, which is powerbi.com, so under download, if you see on this particular button, you will go and check, you can see a Power BI desktop, right? So that is where you actually go and download this particular software. Okay. Now, ho- if you see this particular interface, I mean, it's look quite sleek. It's look quite simple, not a very heavy software. And how we have divided the pane. So if you see here, this is a report view, right? What you are seeing it here, which is nothing but where actually you will be having your reports your visualizations coming in. This is a data view, which is nothing but once you go and pull your data, you will be able to see a data view in a form of a grid, right? And then you have a model view. So model view is typically your data model view, which you will able to see it, like how your data, what your data contains, how many tables, how the relationships are being maintained. So all those things you will be able to see it under the model view. Okay. Now on the right hand side, you can see a visualization pane, which is basically the default visuals which comes with the desktop tool. So you get all these different visuals which you will be using for creating these reports, right? And then you will also have a data, which is nothing but the data which you have bring it will show it here. Okay. Now there is a very important thing on this particular tool, which is nothing but transform data, which eventually open a Power Query editor. Okay. So if I go and click on this particular thing, what it does, it's internally open another window, right? So which is this, right? Let me bring it here. Sorry. Right. So you can see there are two windows. One is your desktop, which is your actual desktop uh, window which you are seeing. And once you click on transform, I am able to open another window, which is nothing, which is known as Power Query Editor. Okay. Now, this is where you will be actually using, or this particular window or this particular Power Query Editor, you will be actually using to transform your data, right? Because once you bring this data from different data sources, you might need to transform that data. You may not need everything which is coming from that data. You might have to rename certain columns. You might have to create a calculated measure. You might have to create your custom calculations. You might have to delete certain columns. You might have to rename certain columns. You do have to do a pivoting or unpivoting, those all those things. Plus you might have to change the data types. So everything you will be doing with this Power Query Editor here. Okay. So this is another thing. So let me close this window. Okay. Okay. Now, if you see here, there is an button which is known as Get Data. Okay. Now, once you click, and I'll take you on more directly. And once you click on more, what it does, it actually open a Get Data pane where you get an option to connect different variety of data sources, right? So if your data coming from a file system, you might be using this particular thing. If your data is coming from databases, you will see all those different native connectors which are pretty much available in the desktop tool itself, right? So we are not restricting only with the Microsoft product portfolio. I mean, if your data sitting on a DB2, right, or if your data is coming from a Teradata or SAP HANA, or even from Amazon, even from the Amazon Redshift, right? So you can go and connect from all these different data sources. So we have Power Platform, we have Azure services. So for example, your data coming from any of your Azure services, right? It could be an Azure Databricks, or it could be an Azure analysis services, or a Synapse. All those connectors you will get it. These are online services which are typically for SaaS kind of services like Salesforce, Dynamics 365, Google Analytics, all those things which you will be able to see it. And this is the other categories, right? So typically data coming from web sources or SharePoint or data feed, all those comes under others. Okay. So for our case, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to show you a step where we're going to connect to a SQL database. Okay. We'll try to bring some data and try to create some report. Okay. And if uh, um, if you want, you can also replicate the same and can try this the same thing after this session, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say a database, and I will say a SQL Server database, and just click on connect. Okay, now it's give me a option here stating that a server name and a database name, which is a pretty obvious. It has to have a server name, so I'm going to give my server name and a database name which is optional. But however, if you know your database name, right, you can give it. Since I have the database name, I'm going to give my database name here. Now, important thing to understand, there are two types of connectivity modes. Okay, an import, right, and uh, there is another one which is a direct query mode. Let me see if I can zoom in. But this window cannot. So yeah, so there are two types of mode, by the way, import and direct query. Now, import mode is typically when you actually go and want to connect to this database and actually want to import the records or import the data in the Power BI desktop, or once you deploy it, it will go actually in the Power BI memory, right? So that is where you are actually downloading, you can say, or importing the data and putting it into a Power BI memory for the faster retrieval, or where you actually need the best performance, right? We're going to talk this later on. I mean, once we go in the storage mode, and what are the advantage or disadvantage of having these mode when you have to go with an import or direct query, right? So there is a direct query which is nothing but typically it does not import, right, the data. However, what it does, it actually make a direct connection with your data set.
Hey, Gaurav, sorry to come in between. Can we
Mhm.
zoom in the screen a bit?
Yeah, I was trying it, but somehow let me see if I can use some zoom magnifier or something.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, I mean, this will be, yes. Is it better? Are we able to see it?
Yep, looks good now.
Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah, looks good now.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking, right? So basically you have two types of mode, right? One is an import and a direct query. So for our case, what we'll do, we'll go with basically an import mode right now. Okay. And just I'm going to click on okay. Yeah, before we do, I also want to show you this advanced option, right? So there is an advanced option also where you can actually write SQL queries, right? If you really don't want to go um, with the default uh, way of connecting, you can even have your own SQL queries, which you can write it and can import this data. So let's go with an import mode. Once I click on OK, so it will try to connect to my database, right, which is this, right? So you can see it it has connected to this database, and it's showing me all the different tables inside my database, right? Now it's with the report author, right? Whoever is authoring the report must be having that understanding what problem he's trying to solve, and he must be having some understanding of the database or the data source also, where he will get all those details, right? So for me, I'm analyzing some sales data, so definitely I might be needing a fact internet sales table. Okay, now once I click, it just show me a preview of some data, right? What does this table contain? Now you have an option below which says select related table, is one option. What it does, once I click on this, it will check the relationship which already exists inside your database with this fact table and other tables related to it. It could be a dimension table which are linked to this, right? So this has automatically detected it, and now it is up to you whether you really want all these tables or you don't want. So you can anytime go and unselect. I may not need a dim currency, so I am unselecting it. I need product, but there is a product category and product subcategory which is not being selected. However, I still need that, so I will manually select these tables also. Dim sales priority is fine. Fact sales reason, I don't need that. I'll unselect this. And what else? Do I need anything else? Okay. So I am I'm good with it. So I can see a question from Pushpak stating if there is no password required to open the database, right? So good question. Definitely there is an authentication required to open the database. In my case, it didn't it doesn't ask, because since I have already done this previously and my connection is already been saved, so it doesn't ask me. However, as soon as you click on, once you pass the database name and basically your server and the database name and click on connect, it will ask you an authentication, what type of authentication you want to do, whether a SQL based or a window based authentication. And once that is successful, after that only you will be able to reach it here. Okay, now this is I'll also pull a geography table, or I'll leave it for timing. I don't need that. Okay, so now there is an option to load or transform. So you can directly load this data as it is, or you can click on transform. So what we'll going to click on transform, and once I go and click on transform, that is where it going to open the Power Query window which I was telling you, right? So this is the window which it actually opens up, right? Now there are two windows, right? So behind you will have a desktop, and on top of it, it has opened a Power Query window. Okay. Now, as of now, there is no data which is being loaded. Okay, it is just showing you a data preview here. On the right hand side here, it is showing you the applied steps what are the steps you're going to apply in this particular data. Okay. uh, so now here you have an option where you can go and start transforming this data as per your requirement, right? So if you see right now, I'm on the table fact internet sales, and in that I can go and scroll this particular data. If there is a need, I don't need a specific column, I can directly do a right click and can do a remove, right? So once I click on remove, it just go and deleted that particular column. Now if you have just notice, it has added one step here, the remove column step. Okay. So that means it is also tracking whatever changes you are making to this data or to this particular table. If you go back, if you really want to go back, you can click on this particular cross and it will take you back, and it will just bring this column back here. Okay. That is what you can do it. The another thing is, what you can actually do is, you can go and change the data types. If you really want to transform something, right? So for example, this data right now, and it says fixed number, fixed decimal number. I want to change this to a whole number. So I'll just go and do that. And what it does, it just converted this and it has transformed everything into a whole number. I mean, it is that easy, which I am trying to show you. I mean, with very minimal effort, you are able to even change the data types also. Sometimes when you actually pull the data, your data coming from the source is a numeric data, but actually it came as an string format, right? And you want to apply an aggregation on it. So obviously on a string, aggregations are something will not be feasible. So what you will actually do, you go and transform and change it, a string or a text data into a whole number thing, right? So that is where these things, uh, uh, you will be taking care of those standards here. Right now, you also have the other option where you actually go and use the formatting, right? Whether you want to trim or you want to do a lowercase, capitalize each word. So all those things you can go and start doing that. So let's say if this is the one, maybe if you want to go and format it and say lowercase, so you can see that this has been lowercase, right? The first character has been on a lowercase. So unfortunately, I'm not able to use the zoom feature properly, and it's causing some more trouble here. So just bear with me on this particular thing. Okay. So this is another thing, right? Similarly, if you go on other table, let's say a product category table, I do have some Spanish name, French name, those are there. For example, I'm working with a customer or somebody who don't need that. I'll just simply go and remove these, and so that I can reduce my data model size. I may not need all those things, right? So I don't need all these French names or Spanish name. Right click and just removing those columns. So it is just deleting those columns out here. Okay. So dim promotion, this is okay. So I mean, there is a lot of thing which you can do in terms of the data modeling, which maybe we can cover once we actually do the data modeling part. But to be have at least a fair um, understanding of the desktop tool, in at least you can get started with it. This much um, knowledge is pretty enough. I mean, this much is pretty enough to get started with it. So I think there was also a question on something on AI and ML, which somebody has asked. This is being integrated or not. Yes, thanks for bringing that part. So, does Power BI model integrated with ML? So, if you can see here, right, under the AI inside, you can see there is a text analytics, there is a vision, and Azure machine learning, right? So, these are some of the modules which are already been part of it. So, for example, I want to perform a specific text analytics, right? However, this data is not, uh, a good contender for doing that. But I just quickly, show you that. So once you click on this text analytic, it's going to actually go and try to look for any of the AI function which you have already have created, in and deployed it. It will go and try to connect with them, and based on that it's going to apply to your data, right? Similarly, it will also look for the machine learning interface. If you click on machine learning, it will also go and try to connect to your Azure machine learning workspace, and try to bring that particular model or the API which you can go and call and can apply on that particular data. Okay, so there is another good question coming up. Like, how you make sure, or can I be sure that any transformation you apply uh, is not applied to the SQL database? Uh, yes, that is 100% sure. Whatever right now transformation, renaming of the column, or whatever you are doing, you are only doing to a Power BI model, right? You're not at all doing any changes to the source. Okay. You can even do a filtration. Let's say you only want a specific product key to be pulled, right? So I will just do a this particular thing. Now once I go and load this data, it will only go and only load this particular product keys, right? Not, it's not going to load everything in my data model, right? So that is another thing which you can do. Okay. So okay, so now coming to some other feature, which is if you want to see your column quality, right? Or if you want to see the column profile. So if you go on view and click on column profile, I mean, this is one of the data preview feature which you can go and can see how your actual column distribution looks like. So if you see what are the keys, like 3310 has the maximum distribution, right? What is your odd or even numbers thing which is there. If you want to see the quality, it will also show you the different quality level of your columns, which you can check for every table, right? Once you are going ahead, so basically it actually showing some of your metadata about your data, how your data is looks like, right? And some profiling of your of this particular data set. Okay. um, so what I'll do, I'll go and say close and apply after this. So now once I do a close and apply, okay, what it is doing, it is applying all the changes from your SQL database, and bringing that in my Power BI desktop, so that I can start working on creating my reports, or those visualization, whatever I have to do. So it is now connecting to all these tables, whatever you have pulled, and it is just start loading them in my data model. So it just even give you a row count, how many rows are being pulled from each table, and whether it is loaded successfully or not. So yes, it is loaded, and you can see here all these different tables. So this is right now I'm at report view. If you go on data view, which we have uh, told before, so this is where now you actually see your data, right? So you can go and actually go and see all these different tables. Under the model view, if you come, now that is where it actually show you now your actual data model, how it looks like, what are the tables you have pulled and how they are related to each other. So if you see, there is a fact table, which is fact internet sales, and these are your dimension tables, right? How they are interconnected. Okay, so all of the tables, if you see, having some relationship, and they are pretty much forming me a schema, star schema kind of a thing. Now important thing is, if there is a table, right? um, let's say a product table which is not connected with your fact internet sales table, and you are trying to create a insight or a KPI which says show me a sale of different product, right? Or what are my number of orders which I am getting based on my different product. Now if you try to do that, it won't show you the actual uh, distribution of the sales based on the product, because that relationship, it does not, there's no relationship between a product dim table and the internet sales table, right? So it is important that you have those relationships created and are maintained when you are actually doing such type of different KPI analysis based on your fact and your dimensions, right? And I hope you guys are aware what is fact and what is dimensions, right? If there is no relationship, so how you can do it? So there is an button on top which is known as manage relationship. Now once you go and click, it will actually go and open this window, right, for you, where you will be actually creating those relationship. You will be defining those relationship with that particular relationship is not, does not exist. So let's say this relationship, fact internet sales versus dim product, and once I click on edit, right, it will actually take you to a similar way, like where you will see a fact table and a dimension table. They are being linked with the product key, because product key is something which is common between these two table, right? So it's kind of making a uh, a foreign key, primary and foreign key relationship between your fact and the dim table, because dim table is nothing but it is your master data where you will be maintaining unique product records. Fact table might having your transactional data, so this will have your foreign key, and this will, sorry, this will have your primary key, and this will have your foreign key, which is linked. And there is a many to one relationship between the as and cardinality, if you see. So you can go and even change the cardinality based on whatever relationship is there. So if it is something which does not exist, you go and manually go and create those relationships. You can change it, like if I want to create an order date key with an order number here, I mean with an order date key, I will have to do that and can create that. So by the way, these relationship coming automatically from the database, so it has detected and it has done that. But if certain source where you are actually go and combine this data with some other data source, right, and want to create a relationship, so that is in at that scenario, you might not get an auto relationship created, right? For example, I also want to combine this data with a data which is sitting on to an Oracle system, right? Because I may get some of my marketing data which is not in SQL Server. It is there in somewhere in, let's say, in CRM system or somewhere in my Oracle system. So those two systems are different, and I may not have a auto relationship. So during that scenario, you might be actually doing a auto relationship. I mean, you have to go and manually create those relationship using this particular manage relationship tab. Make sense? So moving further, now what we'll do, I think, we are left with another 10 more minutes. So let me quickly try to create some report. So how you actually go and now start creating those reports, right? Now we have this data, um, and we okay. Okay. So let's do one thing. So let's go on to my fact internet sales. Okay. Now I have here a tax amount and I have a sale amount. However, in order to get my total sale amount, I might have to do a summation or do a sum between a sales or a tax amount. Now that column does not exist in my data source, right? It was not there, right? um, and I don't have it also. So what you can do, you can go and create a new measure. Okay, you can do a right click and create a new measure, and let's say I'll give this name as total sales. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a sum and do a opening bracket, and sum from what, from my fact internet sales, uh, my sales amount, right? And I'm going to add what, I'm going to add fact. So let's do this as fact internet sale amount, and I'll do it is not taking up. One second. Sum of fact internet sales amount. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let me quickly check the, yeah. So let's do a quick measure here. Okay. And say addition and add a base value as text amount. And to add, I'm going to add basically the sales amount. Okay. And I'm going to say add. So this eventually actually going to create a DAX, right? So since I have to create two measures separately, so I thought of using a shortcut because these two has to be created separately, and then on top of it we need to add. Now I'm going to rename this as total sale. So total sales is nothing but it's a summation of tax amount and the sales amount. Okay, so now this is a calculated measure which we have created, and which you can see it here. This is total sales. Now if you go on to your data view also, correct, for this you must be having this particular total sales which is created. Now you can go and format this basically. So what I'm going to do, I will format this is already a currency, but somehow it is showing this into an INR. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it into a as a dollar value. Okay, so I just format this so that this will go and show me this into US dollar. Okay, so now what we'll do, let's bring this total sales here. So I'm going to bring this total sales. Now it's showing me like this, um, which is okay, but doesn't is not making much sense to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this and put it this as a card visual, right? So this is a card. So I'm going to do that. So what it is now bringing it, which is making more, which is more meaningful. Okay, somehow this got, 1 second. I let me. Okay, so this is now my total sales, which is 31 million. Okay, now again, I'm going to bring my total sales. Now now this one, I want to see total sale based on my different product category. Okay, so what I'm going to bring, English product category. Okay, so now it's showing me something like this, where I can clearly see bike is having the maximum sales, and then accessories, and then clothing. Now you also want to see from where the sale is actually coming, right? Which countries are actually making this sale. So I'm going to bring this and I'll go into a dim territory and say sale territory region, for example. And you can even go and do it as a map. Okay, so what basically it do for you, here it actually go and display your sales in a form of a map, right? So you can go and just see how your sales is basically going on based on different countries. So you will be able to see it in a form of a map. Now let's say you want to go and apply some filters, right? Because I also want to have a capability where I can do some filter based on, some of the key attribute, right? For example, I want to see sale for a specific region, so I'm going to bring region here for an example. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and do a slicer. So this is a slicer. Okay, now slicer is, you can go and format and can do and change it to a drop down. So let's say I want to make it a drop down. Okay, now here I will have all these different countries or territory region, where I'm going to go and select a specific region, and it will go and actually show me what is my sales for that particular region. Now this is one. Now on the same side, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this and paste it and bring it here, and I'm going to bring something else as an product subcategory, right? So I'm going to bring product subcategory name. Okay, so let's say you only want to see a specific category on a specific region, so you are keep bringing all those filters. So that is, I mean, up to you how much, how much flexibility or how much user friendly reports you want to go and create, so you can have those different filters on this particular report, right? So even product category, subcategory, and then you want to bring product category also, you can go and bring in a product category or specific thing which you are looking, right? So this is my total sales. I also want to bring a card which says what is my tax amount. Okay, and again I want to put it as a card. So now it's clearly show me that this is my total sales what I am doing, which is like 31 million, and in that I'm also paying a tax of 2.35 million. Now if you want to also see where you are actually paying this tax, right, which country has the maximum tax which you have paid, so again you will go to a tax and then go to a sales territory, and maybe you can do a sales territory country, right? So that is where you will be able to see a sales territory country. Even if you want, you can put it into a table format. So now this will going to take you and create it in a table format. I'm just changing and clicking here and just changing it, uh, the visuals, right? Okay, so this is one. Now these all things are pretty interactive. So for example, if I click on bike, it's now only taking me to a bike category, right? And if I go and click on accessories, it's now only showing me this is what total sales you have made on accessories, this is what is the tax which you have paid on accessories, and these are the different taxes which you have paid on accessories on these different countries, right? So this is how you will be actually digging in into the data, right? The another thing what you can do is the smart narrative which you can use. So once I go and click, it actually go and create a narrative for me, which is nothing but a kind of a story or a narrative of my data. So let me bring this particular uh, thing here. so that, and I can expand this. Okay, well, let me try to zoom if I can. So what it says, at this particular dollar value, bike has the highest total sales, right? Which is higher than the clothing, which has the lowest sales of this much, right? And if you see, bike has accounted 96% of the total sales, compared to the accessories and the other thing, right? Now this is pretty interactive. For example, let's say if I go into Germany, it will actually go and pretty much change everything for Germany for me. If I go on to the central, it is actually changing everything for central, and even the narrative is also changing, right? So right now everything I'm doing in Power BI desktop. Okay. Though this way is not recommended. It is always recommended that you first publish the data model, and then you connect in the desktop, and then start creating a report, which we can talk later on. But for this particular example, I've just have done this. Now there are some more advanced visual which you can do, are like this decomposition tree. If you really want to go and dig much more into the data and want to do a much much deeper insight. So for example, total sales I want to go and see. So this is where I want to analyze my total sales, but total sales based on what I want to explain based on different countries. I also want to go and explain based on my product category. So I think we are already on over time. So, but I'm quickly show you this, and then we'll try to finish the session. So just stay with me for a few more minutes. So I'm just want to analyze total sales based on different these different attributes, right? Um, and let's say I also want to see maybe based on color, so I'm just bringing that. Now what it's saying, you have a total sale of this much, right? Um, uh, which is a specific dollar value, but where actually you are doing. So what you will do, you will just click on this, and it will tell you what actually you want to dig in, whether you want to see this total sales distribution based on a country, or based on a product category, or based on the color. So let's say I want to go at country. Now what it says, it will automatically go and distribute this particular dollar value into different country, as a distribution where you actually making this much of sale. Now I'm going to take, let's say, France, what actually we are doing in France in terms of the sale. Now let's see what product we are selling in France. So once I go, obviously the bikes are something which are leading. Okay. Uh, Now you want to go and still want to see what type of bikes. So if I'm going to subcategory, it will actually telling me the road bikes is something which you are actually selling a lot in France as a bike category. Now if I want to see, okay, this is good, but do I get more information like what color of road bikes I'm selling? So you can see, oh, the red color is something, it is most uh, favorite color when it comes to the bike for the customer who lives in France, especially for the road bikes. Okay. Now this is nothing but one of the very nice way how you actually go and distribute and can dig in your data, and you can see how fast it is you are able to create and able to make those insights. So um, in the interest of time, I think I have to uh, pause here. um, so, and I think this is at least a good start, um, uh, for you guys to get started with creating your first Power BI report using a Power BI desktop, and then try to build some insight out of it. We will continue this rhythm every month. I mean, that is what I was planning, and probably we'll have a more upcoming session on this particular topic. next month, right? So yeah, so I think that's it from my side uh, for today.
Hey, hey
And
Gaurav,
over to
thank you
Parth.
so much. Can you please share me the resource links? The one you
Mhm.
gave me, I think I just refreshed it and I lost it from the chat.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Cool, please. Yes, Pratik Gupta. The session is available on YouTube anytime. You can watch it on a Reactor YouTube channel. Oh yeah, I got the link. So I'm posting these links where take to learning. Also, yep, you have complete your learn module. So, uh, any more questions? Gaurav, we have a question. Can you see it?
Yeah, so I can see there's a question. Can I integrate this report with my website, which will display dynamically? Yes, absolutely, Pushpak. I mean, so there are two ways to integrate it. Your report to your website. One is a secure way. So that is where you actually going to use Power BI embedded. And there is another option which is publish to web option. Typically, we won't recommend that if you are working with a high business critical data, but that option you can use it as a Power BI Pro feature, publish to web. Basically, if you're doing any blogging or something and you want to put some report, uh, so both the ways you can do that. It's pretty much possible.
Okay. I think then we are good. So I'll also like to share our LinkedIn group where we are active these days, and we do have our. Please do reach out our YouTube channel where you can find a lot of more previous sessions. Globally, it has been done. Sharing your YouTube channel link as well, and a LinkedIn link. So here you can see our Microsoft Reactor LinkedIn group. Please do join us. And thank you so much. Thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thanks, Parth. Thanks, everyone.